Hello, everybody, and I'd like to welcome you today to my presentation, Virtual Classes and the Essential Components to Succeed. Today, this presentation is about looking at some of the forgotten elements of online classes. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name's David White. I live in Trujillo, Peru. First of all, I'm the Managing Director of English for You Language Institute. We've had English for You, my wife and I, for 18 years. And for about the last 8 years, we've been doing virtual classes. On the basis of English, we teach everything from basic through to C2 and above C2. We prepare, for example, SATs, GREs, GMATs. We prepare doctors for their first step tests, TOEFLs, IELTS. We're a University of Cambridge Centre, Preparation Centre, etc. Now, I'm also the headmaster of the American School, which is an IB, bilingual school here in Trujillo, Peru. It's quite a large, well-known school. And both my institute and the school are great sources of pride for me. I've been in Peru now for 19 years. And the reason I never went home to my country was for the fact that I have great faith in education and the difference that it can make in people's lives. So to actually have an institute and to be the director, headmaster of a school, really it's quite amazing because you get to make decisions that really do help to change people's lives. Apart from that, I'm also a teacher trainer. I present a lot of conferences, and I've got a blog. I've written more than 50 articles which have been published all around the world in different publications and blogs, and I quite like doing that. Today, of course, education's a little bit different to what it was when we started this year. It's gone virtual. In our institute, it really was quite easy to transform from the physical classroom to the virtual classroom because we've had virtual classes for 8 years. So we were completely set up. We were able to move our students from the physical to the virtual with very little difficulties. The school, on the other hand, was different. To teach literally hundreds and hundreds of students online with very little preparation time was not an easy feat. But luckily, at the school, there's one of the most amazing academic teams any school could have, and they've worked really, really hard to make this a reality. And I'm very happy with the classes that we provide our students. It's not always perfect. There's always problems, I suppose, which we find solutions for. But, you know, under the circumstances, very happy with what we do. Now, today's presentation, I want to talk about the ingredients for success that we don't normally think about. We just take them for granted. But it's good to make a point of these because normally in the classroom, the success comes down to the teacher, the students, the technology, the environment in the classroom. But in a virtual classroom, this is totally different because apart from the teacher and the student, we have the family. Normally, a family brings their kids to school, leaves them at the gate, and then comes back in the afternoon, picks them up, takes them home. Now, they're in the classroom. And this is more so prevalent in the kindergarten and primary school levels. So what was once mysterious to the parents is now something that's completely in their face. They can see everything that we do every day. So this takes the mystique out of teaching. And it gives parents an opportunity to evaluate and either agree or criticize teaching. And of course, being virtual classes, in many cases, our parents have to become teachers' assistants, especially with the younger kids. So we have to look at many different factors if we're going to have success. First of all, I want to run through, from my experience, what's most important from the point of view of a teacher. The things that we don't normally think about. Okay, we always think about curriculum, we think about our syllabus, we think about different bits and pieces, we do workshops, etc. But there's a lot of other details which are not always thought about. They're just taken automatically by some teachers. Not all teachers, but by some. So I'd like to run through them today. First of all, as in the physical classroom, professionalism is a key word of online classes. At the moment, I hear stories of schools which are absolutely crashing because they're not preparing, they're providing the minimum, they're sending worksheets by email, they've stopped hiring their teachers. I mean, they've just got a disaster. And then there are other schools which have put a huge amount of effort into making sure their classes are as best as possible. And that's what we do in our school and our institute. We try to be professional at all times. And we're always looking for anything where we can improve. This is very important. Okay, let's have a look at the points from the point of view of a teacher. First of all, you need to invest in really good equipment. You've got to have good equipment. You're going to have a good laptop or desktop computer. You're going to make sure that your microphone and your headset are very good. When you speak to your students, they have to be able to understand what you're saying clearly. This is very important. And when you're listening to your students, you've got to be able to listen properly. Now, the headsets, the big headsets are often the best. They're often the highest quality, especially when it comes to listening. Another thing, of course, is to have a mouse. Okay, I know a lot of people use laptops, but when you're doing virtual classes, often it's a very busy thing. You're clicking here, you're clicking there, you're opening this, you're opening that. And the mouse, it's very easy to make a mistake with a laptop mouse. So by having an external mouse with a good mouse pad, well, it takes a lot of the stress out of the class. It really does. It makes it quicker and easier. You don't accidentally click the wrong thing. It's just a lot more professional. You're going to have a good USB memory because as with a normal class, there's a lot of preparation. You need to make sure that you've got everything on your memory, prepared, ready to go. Because when you're teaching school kids, let's say if you're teaching first and second grades, you might have 3 first grade classes, 3 second grade classes. Now, you're teaching the same thing each class. So you prepare once, teach 3 times. And to have everything ready well, it just makes it so much easier for you. And of course, you've got to have good internet where possible. A lot of people I hear at the moment are having problems with their normal internet service. And this is quite common. There's a lot of people using internet at the moment, putting a lot of pressure on the system. One thing I've suggested to people is sometimes you can get these external internet systems. They just plug into the wall, and they don't need to be cabled into the house because they work on the cell phone system. And they can be a lot better when you have a weak internet system. The next thing to do is to dress to impress. This is really important because you are still a teacher. You must still be professional. You're going to make sure that you're If you work for a school or an institute or a university and they have a uniform, wear the uniform in your class. Okay, don't wear t-shirts, especially t-shirts with pictures on them. Don't use polo. You can use polo shirts; they're okay, or shirts. But guys, don't have a week of growth on your face. Make sure you have a shave. Ladies, have makeup on, maybe some nice earrings, a necklace, something like that, something that looks attractive. Make sure your hair is brushed or looking professional, especially the guys. You know, make sure that you look really good. This is very important. When you sit down in front of your computer to give your virtual class, you should look the same and be presented in the same way as what you do when you walk into the regular class. There is no excuse to look anything less than that. Just because you're sitting in your home is not an excuse. Be aware of your environment. This is super important. If you have a look at the internet at the moment, YouTube, Facebook, you'll see there's many videos of teachers who are teaching it live, and all of a sudden their husband or their wife walks behind them half naked, or they come out of a bathroom door or something like this. This is just not appropriate. You've got to set yourself up in a place where there's not going to be a lot of interference from family. Okay, this is really important because you are a teacher. This is your classroom. You're going to make sure that behind you is clean. Make sure you've got a clean wall. Okay, preferably a blank wall. Okay, a white wall or a colored wall. Make sure that the area is tidy. I've seen teachers in they're sitting in their bedroom, and behind them is a wardrobe. And on top of the wardrobe is suitcases and boxes. Sometimes the wardrobe door is open. You can see clothes hanging in the wardrobe. Not good. Curtains. If you're sitting in front of a window, don't have, you might have old curtains or something. Very bad. Okay. Also, don't sit in front of a window because often the light that comes through makes it very difficult for people to see you. You should always have the light in front of you, shining onto your face. Okay. If you need an electric light, the electric light should be coming on your face. Try not to have light behind your head. And another thing you can do is to decorate the wall behind you. For example, if you're an initial teacher, kindergarten teacher, you can put things that are attractive to the kids behind your head. The same way as you decorate your classroom, decorate the classroom in your online classes. Find a good platform, a good program to work with. In my institute and in the school, we use Zoom, plus in the school we use Google Classroom and C-Web. And these are very good. There's a lot of programs out there, but what makes these good is they're very, very simple to use, and they're they got a lot of good features. You got to remember, here in Latin America, a lot of kids live with their grandparents. Often their parents are in other countries working, earning money. Sometimes they're cruceros, whatever, and the kids are with grandparents. So we need something that's simple to use. So find something like Zoom that's very easy to use, something that you can explain to the people, your students and their families, and then learn it, perfect the program. Spend the time, look on YouTube for instructional videos, read the instructions, find out what every button does, what are the different components, what are the different features, and memorize them so that when you're in the class, you can go click, 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 and your students can have a very good class. But if you sit there and say, I can't remember how to do this, I'm not sure how to do that, seriously, you don't look very professional. So it's like everything, be prepared. Choose additional support material wisely. when you go into class, it's just like a normal class. Be prepared. Be prepared with websites, worksheets, games, music, whatever. Have it sitting there ready. Have it on the computer ready. So you just click it and it's already open. You just bring it down and share it with the screen. Something that is very bad to do in online classes is Google. Do not Google search in online classes. Number one, you waste time, a lot of time, because when you Google something, you'll come up with 1,237 choices. And then you'll start looking at the most appropriate heading. You'll click it and you'll look. No, that's not appropriate. So you go back to search. You click the next one. You look unprofessional. You waste time. And the other thing, of course, is Google Images. If you open up Google Images, sometimes you get images which aren't exactly appropriate for children to see, because you can type in something that's very innocent, but the picture that comes up on Google search could be totally inappropriate. So be completely prepared before you go in, including backup material, so that you never have to Google search. That's something you do before a class, not during a class. Adaptability of materials. This is super important because with teaching kids, you often find that a household will have just one laptop or one computer, maybe a tablet. And then you'll have people with 2, 3, sometimes 4 kids. How do they all study their classes if there's one computer? The answer to that is tablets or cell phones. There's a lot of kids who are actually studying using cell phones and tablets. So when you make materials, you're going to make sure that they're suitable to be read using Zoom in a cell phone or a tablet. What does that mean? Well, if you're making a PowerPoint, instead of having 20 slides, or instead of having, say, 5 slides, you might have 10 or 15. And each slide has to have less words, because the worst thing students can do is to open something, a Word document or a PowerPoint on their cell phone, and then they got to stretch and drag everything to read. I mean, this is frustrating. It's frustrating for the student, and it's unprofessional for the class. You're going to make sure, so if you've got one, you can have one question per slide of the PowerPoint or one piece of information. Instead of filling the whole slide, put a little bit of information, then go to the second slide, then to the third slide. And of course, when you need something with a lot of information, have it on a PDF and send it to the student so that they can read it and then relate it to small bits of information that you put on their screen. So just remember, everything suitable for a cell phone. That way everybody can participate on an equal level. Be comfortable. Now, if you're going to be teaching kids, you can be sitting at a desk for hours. If you're teaching school, you can be sitting there for hours, and that can become very uncomfortable. I've heard of teachers at the moment who are laying down on sofas, laying down on their beds, teaching their classes. Very unprofessional and not very good for your posture and for your back. You're going to get a lot of pain. You need to set up with a good table and chair. You don't have to buy something new, just something that you've got lying around your house, but it needs to be a comfortable chair and a table that's big enough where you can put a drink, you can put your mouse pad, you can put papers, your papers, everything, so that you don't have to reach across, grab things, go down to the floor. Make sure that everything is here in a very comfortable way that you can operate without a lot of stress. Make sure that you've got rest breaks. This is important. When the students have a rest break, have a rest break. Get up, move around, stretch, drink some water, go outside, get some natural light, some good vitamin D from the sun. Sitting inside all the time is not very good for you. Make sure you got a good electric light. A lot of people get dry eyes from looking at a computer too much. And a lot of this can be caused by bad lighting. Now, the light should be directly in front of you, coming down onto you. Don't have it behind your back, have it come down onto you. So you either have a window in front of you or a light. And as I was saying before, don't do classes on beds or sofas. Don't do your classes in a dining room or a sala if you can help it, because you've got too many environmental interruptions. You can have your mother or your father or your wife cooking dinner, crashing plates, your kids running around, your grandmother or grandfather watching television. Doesn't work. Try to find an area designated for you to work, if possible. Never rely upon your memory. This is super important when you're teaching kids. Because kids are always telling you things like, Mister, next week, Tuesday, it's my birthday. Or you might have students who have strengths or weaknesses that you need to take details about. You might have an idea for the next class or next week. So have a quaderno, a notebook, where you can take details of your class. Have a page or 2 pages for each class and take notes. This is very important because you just can't rely upon your memory for everything, because you will forget. And when you do, it won't make you very happy, I can assure you. Be happy and enthusiastic. Students absorb the attitude of their teachers. If the teacher is positive and upbeat, the students will be positive and upbeat. If the teacher is angry or sad, the kids feel it, they absorb it, and it affects the way that they perform, the way that they learn. So try to be happy and upbeat in your class. Be positive with the kids. Give them positive reinforcement. Tell them, well done, I'm proud of you, great work, excellent. Ask questions, have that interactivity with the kids, and congratulate them when they answer the question. But just remember something, as in the physical classroom, in the virtual classroom, negativity is a virus. If a teacher is negative, then the negativity will spread through the kids and will become part of the class. And it'll be very difficult to turn around. Reasonable expectations. You can't expect to achieve, especially with small kids, the same level of productivity in the virtual classroom as you can in the real classroom, the physical classroom. It's not going to happen. You've got to balance everything, give them time, because if you're teaching, say, initio or 1st and 2nd grade, normally you're walking around and you're helping the kids, but now you're relying on parents. Sometimes the parents will be doing good, then their phone will ring, or they've got to go to the bathroom, or they're cooking lunch in the kitchen. And this will affect the pace of your class, because the kids can't always finish until their parents help them. You also have kids, like my daughter is studying online at the moment. She's super quick. She finishes in a few minutes. And then there are other kids who are so meticulous in all of their details, they take a lot longer. So don't overload them. Set realistic goals for the class and achieve those goals. Interactivity. This is key. This is the foundation of the class. Okay. The classes must be student focused. I've seen so many classes, online classes, which I've witnessed over the years, where the teacher just dictates. Now that's not teaching. That is a failure in teaching. The teacher has to share, has to ask questions, has to interact at all times. As in the physical class, the virtual class has to be student focused. If we're not attracting the attention of the students, they're going to be sitting there paying attention to everything that's happening around them in their life, because that will be more interesting than you. That's the problem. If you're not interesting, you're not grabbing the attention of the kids, they're going to listen to their mum. They're going to hear the television. They're going to want to look at their cell phone and play video games because your class is boring. You've got to make it a really interactive, fun, creative, student-focused class. That is the secret. When you do that, you're going to grab the kids' attention and they're going to enjoy coming to class. Also, you can do a lot of family activities. The house. For example, you can go into the kitchen. You can ask the kids, go get me something that's round. Find me something that's blue. Find me tomorrow, I want you to come to class in your favorite t-shirt, something like this. You can ask the kids to make videos showing their kitchen, showing their bedroom, videos with the parents, cooking videos, different things like this. Family videos. This is my mother, this is my father, this is my brother, this is my sister. Involve the family. Because that way, when the family has fun with the interactivity with the education, you'll often find they're more accepting and less critical of your classes. Show faces. Some people don't like to show faces in the classes, but statistics show, research shows, that when classes where students show their face, they're more successful. Why? Because often if they're hiding their face, they're sitting there playing with their cell phones. They're playing video games, or they're text messaging in Facebook or something like this, rather than participating in the class. You need to see their faces to verify their attendance, verify their active participation, and of course, discipline. This is really important. If they've just got a photograph, or it's just black, or just their name, you don't know what the student's done. And this is quite relevant, especially in secondary students. Sometimes the secondary students say, I don't want to show my face, you know, they might be in their pajamas, they might, the first class of the morning, they may still be in bed. But the thing is they have to be out of bed, they have to be ready for class, the camera needs to be on, they need to verify that they're learning. Instructions. Just like in the regular class, the physical class, we need to make sure that our instructions are clear and specific. But as well, try to preempt questions, because often in classes like Zoom, you are muting the microphones of the students, because, well, sometimes you don't. It depends on the teacher. But if you don't explain things properly and students have got questions, you lose total control. You lose control. You're sitting there with your mouse trying to click on this student, and click on this student, and click on this, trying to answer questions. So try to think, what questions could they ask, and try to answer them as part of the instructions. And if necessary, translate, depending on the level of your students. In the instructions, if necessary, translate. Classroom management, very important. Establish rules. At the beginning, establish rules. This is what we happen. We mute, I mute all the microphones. If you want to answer, put your hands up and I will unmute your microphone. Every student must participate. Cameras must be turned on, etc., etc. Question everybody. You'll always have students who are very enthusiastic and then students that don't like to participate. Question everybody, because if you don't, you'll get complaints from families where they'll say, nobody ever asks my son questions. It's always the same people who answer the question. These are the sort of comments you get from the parents. Plus, we must verify comprehension. We must verify level of learning. So answer questions for everybody. Set time limits. Don't let things stretch out too far. We know how long an activity takes. If it takes 5 minutes in the physical classroom, give them 7 or 8 minutes, but set limits. Time management, productivity is super important. It's probably more important in the virtual classroom than the physical classroom because it's not your environment. You've got 20 kids, you're in 21 different environments, okay? So you've got to take control of your environment through time management to maintain proper productivity. Okay, that's my suggestions for teachers. Now, the other element, of course, is families and students. Normally, when we teach, our students are in our classrooms. It's super simple. But now, as I was saying before, if we got 20 kids, we got 21 environments. And often, especially in the case of young kids, we could have 20 parents or more who are watching everything. So what I like to do is to give instructions to the families on how to take the stress out of the house, because at the moment, there's a lot of stress in people's houses. At the moment I make this video, I've been in quarantine for 9 weeks. I haven't been outside in 9 weeks. Now, for a lot of people, that causes stress in the house. We need to make sure in education we have less stress. Make their classes a low stress occasion. Remove all distractions from the kids, first of all. All this is about instructions to give to the parents. No cell phones, unless they're studying with them. No computer games. Don't have any social media accounts open. Don't have a television or music playing in the area where the kids are. Nothing that will distract them, okay? Have them studying in a specific area. Don't have them near the kitchen. Don't have them where somebody's watching television, okay? Make the environment so that there are no distractions. They can just think about and concentrate on their education. Make their environment comfortable and functional. Just like we mentioned with the teacher, you're going to have a good area for the kids. An education area. Have an area that's dedicated just for them. Preferably, maybe in their bedroom or something like this, where they're away from the noisy distractions of the house, like the kitchen and the side. A nice quiet area. Once again, give them a suitable sized table, a comfortable chair. You don't want the kids to be sitting on a hard chair. They get pain in their back, they get pain in their shoulders, their legs fall asleep, they jump around because it's uncomfortable. Make it as comfortable as possible. Make the area educational focused, if you can, without distractions. Often I suggest to families that for the wall behind, when teachers give them work, put the work on the wall so that the area, when they look at their camera, they see just education. But give them a nice, comfortable, low distracted area specifically for their classes. Set routines and breaks. Now, in our normal life, we get up at a certain time, we have a shower, we have breakfast, get dressed, whatever, catch the bus, catch the taxi, mum or dad takes them to school. We have a routine. We have alarm clocks to wake us up, everything. Do the same thing now. Do the same thing. Set routines and breaks for the kids so that there's normality. They need to know that their life is still structured and organized. It gives them discipline, it gives them balance in their lives. Give them breaks. Give them exercise breaks. Give them snack breaks. Give them activities which are non-computer based. This is very important. You don't want them to be sitting on the computer for 4-5 hours and then have to pick up, and then they pick up a cell phone and play a computer game. No, get them to read. Get them to sit on the roof if you're in an apartment. If you're in a house, sit in the garden if you have a small garden, something like this. But give them something else to do. Play some music, play an exercise video, a yoga video on YouTube, something that's not educational. But get them out of bed at the same time, have the shower at the same time, breakfast, get dressed, and then 5 minutes before the class, sit in front of the computer waiting for the teacher. Okay? Set the same daily routines that you expected of your kids when they went to school. Interaction with their friends. Kids are sociable. Normally at school, they play in the class, they talk in the class. During their breaks, they play, they kick footballs, they throw basketballs, everything like this. They talk about life. At the moment, they can't do that in quarantine. So, and this is very unhealthy. This is extremely unhealthy from a physical and psychological point of view. Set your kids up in groups, whether it's in, preferably in Zoom, something like that, where the kids can get together and chat. They can share things, they can yell, they can scream, show what they've done. They can have I've had kids in my school have virtual birthday parties where, the girl will be sitting there with cake in front of her, and on the screen is all of her friends singing happy birthday, and they've all got a drink, and they're having a virtual birthday party, something like this. But make sure the kids have still got that connection. Also to their grandparents, their aunties, their uncles, their cousins. Try to set up that opportunity for them to talk, because they really need that. It's very good for their psychological health. Include a lot of offline activities. Too much electronics is bad for the brain. It's been proven many times. The brain is like a television. You need to change the channel. Otherwise it gets strained. It gets all out of balance. Have physical activities, non-electronic activities, reading, music, things like this, things that are going to rest the eyes. You can read a book for 16 hours and your eyes will be perfect. But the kids can sit in front of a computer for 4 hours and their eyes are dry and red. They turn off the electronics, give them something physical to do. Parents chatting group. Parents get frustration at the moment, often a lot of frustration. They're not used to spending so much time with their husband or their wife. They're normally used to having friends, etc., etc. Get parents to set up chatting groups. They can either meet in Zoom or in WhatsApp, and they can talk about their problems and find solutions among themselves. Problems with the classes, but just problems in life. It helps them to release a bit of stress through social interaction, even though it's electronic. Physical activity. Kids have got unlimited energy. Now, energy can be positive or negative. And at the moment, in quarantine, the energy can be very negative. Like my daughter wants, when she gets too much energy, she wants to jump on furniture. So, we might put on some rock and roll music and just jump up and down and dance and things like this. We also do yoga, and there's a lot of videos on YouTube about exercises for young kids. Try to burn the energy, okay? Don't give your kids sugary drinks or cookies to keep them happy. That just increases their whole energy level, right? We need them to have this physical interactivity. They need to control their negative behavior through the physical activities. Because if they don't, what happens is the parents get stressed, then there's stress in the household, and this can often end up with physical and emotional violence in the house. If you read the reports from all over the world, physical violence in houses during quarantine, there was a report in the United Nations, in many countries is up 60%. 60% extra violence in houses during the quarantine. Now, if you use energy wisely, it helps to release that stress rather than yelling and screaming, because when parents are angry, you can imagine that puts a lot of unnecessary stress on our students. Get the parents to ask the kids, what would you like to do? Set rules such as no electronics, but what would you like to do? You can do some electronics, like let's have a cinema night. Let's watch our favorite movie. Let's have a weekend where we have an Avengers or a Harry Potter movie marathon on Netflix or with DVDs. Let's make popcorn. But there are things where you can play music, you can read. If you have a small garden out the back, maybe have a picnic, have a barbecue or something. But ask the kids what they would like to do. Quarantine is not a vacation. You got to get this through the whole family's head. This is not a vacation. You don't get out of bed at 10 o'clock and then get the kids to attend the second or third class of the day because they were still sleeping for the first or second. They need discipline, they need structure, they need direction, they need normality. As I said before, set up a schedule, set alarms, put normality into their life. Family activities. Like I was saying before, this is a time where there can be a lot of stress in the family. Many different sorts of stress, just from being together all the time, unable to leave, financial stresses, many different things. So try to do some activities which take the stress out of the family. Because if the family has stress, it affects our students, it affects the kids. You know, inject some fun into the family, strengthen the family bond, play cards, board games, football, movie nights, have a picnic in the garden, go sit on the roof of your apartment and enjoy the sun, but do something together that's fun, something that's totally different to everything that causes stress. Everything that causes stress, just do something fun instead of having to cook. See if you can get a delivery of a pollo a la brasa or something, and have a picnic without leaving the house. Whatever, read books. It's something that helps do things as a family that's not stressful. Teach, set, and maintain chores. I can't remember how many thousands of times I've had parents tell me, my kids are lazy, my kids are useless. Well, part of the lessons of life is teaching our kids how to be adults, because one day they leave home, and how successful they are depends on what we have taught them. So take this time, get parents to take this time to prepare their kids, especially teenagers, for adult life. Get them making their own beds, washing and ironing their clothes, washing dishes. If you have a garden, work in the garden. Create household equality. Don't let the kids think that mum and dad are their slaves, or women are tools for men to use. In my culture, all men know how to cook. They know how to wash clothes. They know how to iron. If we don't know how to do it, women won't marry us because they don't like lazy men. So this is an opportunity for families to create equality in their homes by teaching their kids chores and making it a mandatory part of the day. Now, you can imagine in a normal day, in the morning, kids travel to school, and in the afternoon, they travel home. Bring that time together, because they're not traveling. and use that time for chores. So when they get up in the morning, they shower, get dressed, have breakfast, have enough time for them to make their bed, clean their bathroom, organize their dirty clothes, sweep their floor, whatever, before they go to class. Teaches them a good lesson. Try to enjoy. I know this sounds a bit funny, but one day this will be over and it'll just be a memory. Do we want our kids, our families to have a good memory or a bad memory? Normally, these days, our lives are very, very busy. We don't get to spend a lot of family time. This is such a wonderful opportunity to spend family time. Make family memories, positive memories. Think of this as a positive bonding time for the family. There's an old expression in English, have lemons, make lemonade. Well, this can be a lemon occasion in your life. Something that's negative, but try to make it positive. For example, our family, we have created a blog where we document everything about the quarantine. We make videos, we take photographs, and we're going to make this something that we can remember. Something where one day my young daughter can go back and remember this and see the fun that we have. We paint, we draw. My daughter and I cook together. I teach her how to wash clothes, hang up clothes. She does that with me on the roof. Make sure she knows how to make her bed. Things like this, and we document everything in the blog. We have made this into the most positive experience possible for our daughter, even though for us it's difficult. I spend my day with my team from my house trying to run a school. My wife, sits next to me on another laptop running our institute. And sometimes we spend more hours in the day than we would have in our physical world. But we try to make everything positive for our daughter. And we're actually, we find a lot of positive out of this negative situation. So that's something we should suggest to our family. Right, that's about the end of my presentation for today and suggestions for teachers and families. I'd like to just let you have a look at this. Let me move this. If you want to screen capture this, this is 5 blog stories which are helpful. There's one about 15 tips for achieving success in the virtual classroom, how to bring the virtual world into your virtual classroom, because there are things on the internet where you can visit zoos, you can visit museums, fun parks, Disneyland, many things in the virtual world. You can bring them into your classroom. There's 12 tips to share with parents. There's 25 online games. And there's tips for teaching teens and adults. So if you want to screen capture that and check those articles, they have a lot of tips. But I hope that the presentation was valuable today, because sometimes we forget those little details. We look at this big picture and we forget about making the teacher comfortable and the little things that they need to make their life easy and their classes professional. And then we forget sometimes, we think about our own world and we forget about our students, and our families are locked in the house. So if we're able to give these suggestions to families and to make the classes for the students easier and to take some of the stress out of the house, it makes the whole quarantine a lot easier. So I hope that you got something out of that today. Believe me, I've been doing online for, like I said, 8 years. I've always followed these rules. It always makes it easy. And then our institute, we teach people from 5 years old up to 60 years old. So, and the rules apply for everybody. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed today's presentation. I know that I enjoyed being here. I enjoyed sharing with everybody. And I really look forward to the day when all this is over and I can stand on the stage once again and do something physical and say hello to everybody and shake hands and give everybody. Thank you, everybody. And good luck, good teaching. See you soon. Bye.